Welcome everyone to our inaugural K-6 user group in the Asia Pacific region. This is the very first one that we've ever held. We have had a K-12 user group a couple of weeks ago. Some of you were there. But this one is particularly focused on K-6. We're really grateful for all of those who've put their hand up to share some of the things that they're doing at their particular schools. Now, this is a user group. It's not a formal presentation type of webinar. This is for interaction. So if you've got questions or anything like that, chuck that in the chat. If there's something that you think you might want to share, we actually have some people who've put their hands up to share, and we'll have them go through some of the things that they're doing first of all. But we will open up, assuming there's still time, we will open up for others to share what they're doing as well. If you think you've got some cool stuff you want to show, or you think anything that you think might be useful for the group. And that's pretty much, before the COVID times, and that's pretty much how we did things. We quite often, the user groups I'd go to, we'd have some chairs and tables, and people would come up and hook in the HDMI cable and share things that they're doing, or talk about the things that we're doing, and we'd have a chat about why we're doing things a certain way. And it's really good to just share our community practice with each other. So let's dive straight in. This is the welcome, but this is the agenda for the day. And the focus really is, what are some of the things we've learned from COVID-19? We don't have to strictly adhere to that specifically, but we do have some specific topics that we'd like to cover off. Things like homepages, course structure, parent interaction, and assessment in Canvas. We will actually, after we've been and shared a few things, we want to get feedback from the group about the frequency of how often we want to meet as a user group, specifically as a K-6 user group. And we'll have some Q&A as well, where we can ask each other questions. And particularly the people who've shared some things, you can ask questions, but feel free to ask questions along the way, don't hold back. And we'll also have a bit of a chat about topics that you might have in mind for our next user group. For any of you that were at our K-12 user group, this will look very familiar to you. That's because we're following almost the exact same agenda, except this is for K-6 specifically. And there's a lot of crossover with these topics and people being interested in these topics, which is why we're kind of doing a repeat, except now we're focusing on K-6 and not just the broader K-12, or if you're in Victoria, P-12. But first of all, and we asked this last time, feel free to jump into the chat with this question. How are we traveling with things? Not just with Canvas, but with school in general, coming back. Some people, our less fortunate friends in Victoria are having a pretty tough time at the moment with lockdowns. But yeah, just how's everyone going? If you want to make that in relation to Canvas, then feel free to either put that in the chat, or we have allowed you to unmute yourselves. So you can unmute yourself and just share. It's just be courteous of others if you do unmute yourself, and if someone else is talking, let them have the chance to talk.
2 weeks holiday, terrible.
Yeah, I'm jealous now. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no worries. We changed the structure of our year, so we're having a 2-week break now, and then it's still all crazy. But the 2 weeks is really nice right at the moment.
So where are you?
Sydney, Barker College.
Here in Melbourne, I think we've still got 3 weeks to go. Well, 2.5.
Yeah, that's a good question from Glennis. I wonder what term 4 is going to look like for Victoria. It's going to be very interesting. I think everyone's just interested to see what the announcements are going to be on Sunday for Victoria.
All we can do is just go with the flow.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's pretty crazy times. Um, all right. Well, unless anyone has anything else I want to share, that's just thought I'd open that up. Let's dive straight in. And we have a few people, as I said, who want to share a few things. Some of the things that we're doing, it's not necessarily just what we've learned from COVID-19, but some uh, just in general what we're doing on these particular topics. And first cab off the rank is course structures. We actually have Phil from Pacific Hills on the line with us. Phil, did you want to share your screen at all, or just
Yeah. I'll
chuck?
I'll chuck it up. Just got to wait for you to stop sharing, I think.
Yep. There you go.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, we at Pacific Hills we've had Canvas for a while, but it's been fairly, especially in the junior school, very slow in the uptake. There was a lot of time and effort committed to getting our middle and senior school up and running as earlier up, like take runners of it, but we kind of got left behind until all this, which has kind of been good in one sense because people have been on board. So after seeing different things like what Paul's done at Barker and seeing a few other people's stuff, we kind of jumped in, and I just thought show a little bit about what we've done, what we've learned from it, how we've structured things. The back end of all of ours is managed by IT. I don't fully understand it, but I do know we do a sync straight out of Edumate. And so our courses and everything are directly governed by what Edumate pushes out. As a junior school child, they're immediately a part of lots of courses. So one course per subject effectively. One of the courses that our structure sets up is these ones that you can see here, these 5 that I assigned myself as a teacher for so I could help manage it, was called the role class. And so what we did for the COVID time, and we're continuing now to use these as kind of a landing page, a home course, is ran everything, all subjects through the one, which I know is a similar-ish way of going about things that some primary people are doing and or lots of primary guys are doing. So I'll jump into the year 3 one just because that's where I'm living, and so I kind of looked at it, managed this a little bit more than the other grades. Every grade looked the same. So we've got staff that, as you probably all have, are very nervous with technology. We've got parents that are super stressed with what's going on. So we just wanted absolutely everything to be as, user-friendly as possible. Nothing too overwhelming and very logical to know where to go. So this is quite specific to the shutdown period. We decided to divide all learning up into these 4 categories. So your maths and your English, obviously. Integrated studies, I'll just jump in there before I show you maths and English, is where we made things like history and science and that live. Sorry, my internet's a bit slow here. It's struggling. We'll catch there in a second. Come on, internet. There we go, slowly rendering. It'll get there eventually. Sorry?
The interesting thing is your screen share is actually pretty in sync. It's just the...
Oh, really? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the screen share is, yeah.
So
you can see, yeah. No, it's freezing for me here as well. So that's kind of what our integrated studies would have looked like as we progressed through the term. These integrated 1 and integrated 2, actually, I switched the buttons out for history and science across the grades. Some people asked for different buttons depending on what they were doing here, but this is kind of how we structured it. One thing which I'll kind of show you how we use modules a little bit later, that you can probably see, is everything is page-based that I've done. So I built all of these pages. I actually built it in the kindergarten role class one, got it all ready to go because we're not using Blueprint in junior school yet. Got it all ready to go there, and then I copied it across all of the other grades. So it was an empty shell of a course ready for teams to populate. And from a navigational side of view, I should have pointed this out when I was clicking through these banners, which I know lots of you do. I've got as back buttons in everything. And so the kids have learned that, the parents have learned that. Buttons drilled in, banners drill back out. And so that's kind of something that we just used kind of in everywhere. Home learning was a cool idea that our head of school came up with. It was kind of a way of having a little bit of freedom with just the stressful time, allowing the parents to include things that they're just going to be able to do at home with the kids. And so this is where we had our PE teacher put his stuff in there. So he got a bunch of brain breaks that the kids could be doing while they're at home trying to do their work, and his like PE activities. Down here we had some like baking and Lego challenges, and these are just a whole bunch of different fun things, very kind of creative ways of then engaging with work at home, because we absolutely appreciated that there was lots of parents, as I'm sure a lot of you found, that were just stressed and found it hard to get their kids to sit down and do work. So as much as possible, we wanted to offer fun ways of kind of breaking the ice and getting them into it. I'm just seeing a couple of questions on here, so I don't have my chat up. Was there a question about back buttons, I think, was there? I assume it was asking what that meant. Just, yes, linked.
That was from me, actually.
Oh, it's from you. Sorry, I just thought, so when I say back button, back a level of the program. So I kind of, when I planned this, I drew almost like a family tree. This is our homepage, and then from there is English, and then it kind of spread the way out. So just making it make sense from a navigational point of view, so that people never got lost, and it just kind of made sense. So, I mean, in that, our plan for the shutdown period was this homepage is kind of the top of the family tree. Then the next level down were the subject homepages, which each, like that integrated studies nearly loaded to, was the 10 weeks. And so something we're actually looking at this term is, I'll click into our maths because I've been playing with it a bit, is to think how to do this structure a little bit differently. And so if I click on term 2 there, that'll go back into the COVID time. Term 3 is what we're looking at the moment. What I've actually started to do after listening to a few other people's idea of using one course for everything, is that what a lot of people are doing? I think I've heard some people yes, some people no.
Yep.
Yeah, one for junior school home. Yeah. One thing I found, I'll show you my modules view back in the roll course in a moment, is it absolutely started to get your scroll of death. And to try to keep everything really nice and managed, I've tried this term with year 3. You can notice up here that the course has actually changed. So I'm a bit late to the party in realizing that you can just do links across courses that kids are enrolled into. And so I've got lots of links and buttons actually jumping between courses. And we've noticed this term that works totally fine. So building all of the maths work, as you can see here inside the maths course, and having the link from this role class, actually just directing them to it. So if I hit here into term 3, this term, rather than breaking up into weeks, we've had a go at breaking it up into strands, just so we're kind of not being bound by weeks, being able to learn at the pace of the kids and use Canvas to reflect that. I mean, this is more of a programming thing. We've had a go at programming our entire maths unit using I can statements rather than lessons, which has worked really, really well. It's been cool. But that's kind of how we've used the structure of Canvas this time around. Sorry, was there a question?
Yeah, there was a couple of questions just around, does every child at your institute or at Pacific Hills have an email address?
Yes.
I suppose a follow-up to that is, did you have any problems with students logging in, etc.?
Yeah.
When you're dealing
So
with
we were fortunate in having, like a lot of our heads of school were very proactive in, this is coming soon. Let's make sure the kids are prepared for it. So we had the chance to practice signing on at school. And there was information sent home to the parents on how to do the logging in. On the most part, kids were able to log in. So when you go into people and you can see the last login, we were kind of monitoring that and then contacting parents if we'd noticed specific people who hadn't been able to log in, just touching base with them, not a, hey, you need to join, you need to be logging in, you're not doing the right thing, but more of a, how are you going? Are you okay? Do you need help? Is things just too hard? That's fine if it is. So yeah, from could kids log on? Yeah, that was pretty good. We did daily announcements through the announcements feature in the role classes, and they through there were able to engage with the teachers. So I'll just talk about a Year 3 team. Every day, each of us put up an announcement just set to our class, because the all of Year 3 is in this one course, and then they're broken up into the sections, which are the classes. And then it was up to the kids to respond back each day and say hello. And so that happened most days. We'd get, close to 70% of the kids replying back each day. And after a while, they all were joining in because it was fun. They enjoyed it. It was a bit novel for them to be able to chat.
How were all the teachers in a year group with just sharing a single course?
Yeah, great. So, I mean, us specifically, we broke the work up to help ease the load. So take maths, for example, we broke the term up into mostly 2-week chunks, being topical. And then we each, one person was in charge of creating the work for the entire grade. And so, especially with a lot of people needing to learn how it all works for the first time, it was kind of nice for their workload to be decreased greatly. That home learning thing I showed you earlier actually was an entire school collaborative effort. So whole junior school, which is K-4 for us, everyone was contributing work to that. And even some kids actually contributed some work. So some kids sent a fun activity they did at home and asked if we could put that up on the home learning. So we popped that in. So that was really great for them, being able to see their own work there. So I'm just drilling into one of the weeks that I did. So my weeks was week 5 and 6 for maths in that last term. So we had the 5 lessons set out, well, this is our extension, gifted and talented teacher. She just had some work up there that was optional extras, and everyone had access to it. But you would just click in there, and it was a very linear page with the information working their way through. And there was videos sometimes for the questions, instructions. I've just used Microsoft Whiteboard to draw and write a lot of the stuff because the kids found that a little bit more exciting than typing. And then, worked our way through questions and then answers, question then answers, kind of the whole way through. Which is the way we did the work, and we each took our turn. So one of the downsides, similar to your question, Paul, was that there then starts to become the difference in quality and usability of some of the lessons, which I know is a bit of a thing across the grade. But I mean, that comes down to training and delivering something on an online, almost ready for autonomous, not following a timetable learning. It's a new way of teaching. It's a whole new thing of learning, and so a lot of us struggled with that, learnt slowly. I mean, even my lessons, I go back to the earlier ones, were pretty atrocious, and then they got a little bit better as you go along. And by the end of it, midway through video lessons, I was slipping a little game of Mario Kart in there, and the kids thought it was awesome. So just, we learnt along the way. One thing I did like about everyone being in the one thing was that it was very much a team approach. It was a really good way of us looking after each other and helping. And it meant for me, I could quickly jump on and fix things for people. If they'd be freaking out, oh, the quiz that I assigned isn't working, I could quickly jump in there and fix it. Which is why I was also a member of all of the grades courses, so I could get in there and do it. The last thing I thought would be interesting just to point out, the way that I went about, just keep an eye on the time, so I'm going a bit over, sorry. The way that we use modules was more from a organizational point of view and a publishing point of view. So in each grade, I assigned kind of like a champion to look after Canvas and the publishing. And so it would be up to them to communicate with whoever the teacher was responsible for the lesson and to publish the work. And this is how we did it. We did it in modules. So I used kind of your indents here to plan out all of the work. But this was not visible to the kids. It was, if you see at the top, I've got almost everything hidden from the kids, from the students. And so this was very much a way of the teachers being able to publish the work in batches almost. So each of these bigger ones, the Junior School Distance Learning Maths Week 4, that kind of governed all of these publishing because the teachers could go on as they finished a work, publish lesson 1, publish lesson 2, publish lesson 3, but it wouldn't be until the publisher actually goes and publishes the week page that everything became available. So that was a nice way of managing that, and that worked really well from a logistical point of view amongst the craziness. Yeah.
Really cool. I think, and everyone jump in, unmute yourself or jump into the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's fairly common. And personally, that's how I think junior school approach should be. The module screen is a bit much, particularly in the younger years. And so being able to create your own navigation like you have using the pages in Canvas, but the benefit of using the modules is that you get access to the module tools as well. So if you have, you can set up requirements in the modules, and then you can actually track student progress with the requirements as well. So, and then that's a massive benefit to the teachers. So yeah, it's not one or the other. You can use both in conjunction. It's just which parts are you making visible to the students.
Yeah, and I suppose, like I was saying, like we're fairly early on in our journey in doing this all, and the way to get it up and running in the shortest amount of time in a way that would work, Pages was it.
Well, yeah, and you basically got your
consuming.
sequence, don't you? Like the modules is sequencing all your activities,
Absolutely,
and everything,
absolutely.
all your lessons.
Absolutely.
Well, can I just say that it looks amazing, and the way that you talked about collaboration with your staff, that's just totally the key. Great way to get people involved and sharing the load. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, back to the theme of the whole thing, what have we learned from COVID? Learning that we are a team. I mean, sharing the load. I mean, if we're all teaching maths, sharing the load around. If we're all teaching English, sharing the load around, and then you differentiate off the midline or whatever you grade. We're doing that this term. So I'm writing the program and doing maths for our entire grade for this term, but nothing else. So I'm able to get my head in that, focus on it, help all the other 3 classes out, create all the explicit instruction through PowerPoints, and which allows me to keep my head in that, and then others to keep their head in English and science, and just means everything's done that little bit better.
Well done. Like it.
Yeah, that's definitely been something that we've learned. Work smarter, not harder.
Do you, just if you could, click your fingers and make COVID end right now, would you still move in that same direction?
That same direction being working
the way
collaboratively?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, apart from having cleaners come and visit our room every half an hour, we're pretty much and no parents on site. It kind of feels like we're back into the swing of it. So that collaborative side is definitely something we've held on to, and we would definitely want to continue. The actual ongoing use of Canvas has kind of slipped off a lot of people's radar. And I think that's just, everything has been so uncomfortable for so long. So everyone's wanted just to slip back to comfort, which for a lot of people is just standing up in front and talking rather than, spending the time creating stuff. So, I've tried to continue to do it a little bit to set the example and have it still be there. But definitely from a collaborative point of view, definitely something lots of people have appreciated and wanting to hold on to.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks, Phil. Now, just what we might do, I'm sure there are other people who would like to share more on this. We might circle back to this topic, but we'll cover off the other topics, and maybe we'll swing back around to maybe not just this one, but others, if time permits. So I'll just share my screen again really quick. And we'll move on to home pages. And we have David Smith and Paul Harmon. You can fight it out as to who wants to go first. Let's go. Let's go, David. He unmuted first. There you go.
Okay, that was the clincher. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me this afternoon. I'm at International Grammar School. We've had can everyone hear me? Okay, I assume. Yep. Okay. We've had Canvas for a while. We had a change of department with people heading up Canvas last year. So this has all sort of slipped a little bit with how we've been sort of progressing with our Canvas journey. A high school have been utilising it in their sort of high school way. And as you know, like with K-6, it's always managed in a very different way. I think Phil sort of alluded to that a lot in the way that structure was presented. It's very similar to the way I'm trying to sort of get junior school to sort of work with that. I'm a Year 5 teacher, but I'm also, my dual role is ICT integration within the junior school. So that's, I've tried to sort of take Canvas on from years gone by, a couple of years gone by, because it really was languishing and going nowhere. So we really wanted to utilise such a great resource that we do have and try and get staff to buy into this. Phil's mentioned a couple of things with collaboration, which is really important, which is what I've tried to suss out. From 2019 last year to 2020, I've tried to revamp the whole thing. We visited a couple of schools. There's a colleague of mine, Michelle, who's online at the moment here with us. Michelle, you can butt in when you like to. Michelle's head of studies in the junior schools. So I've tried to collaborate closely with her in how we can sort of frame Canvas to get staff working. So I'm not really going into the COVID sphere of things. That just sort of happened after I started doing this. But I'm very keen to hear from colleagues about, especially the early stage one area, and how you get your staff on board, because there's certain ways that I'm developing, but I'm really keen to know more. And I know some of the other user groups that I've been participating in with Canvas, there have been some great ideas. I know Paul, I think from Barker, gave up a couple of ideas on a couple of user groups before, and I'm very interested to know that. I'd be very interested to visit schools, but unfortunately with what's going on, we can't really do that. So I really want to open it up for early stage one stuff. I'll share my screen. I'm just looking at a homepage and just sort of give you a journey quickly on how we got from where we are today from where we were. I feel really embarrassed a little bit from what I'm going to show you, because you're probably thinking I'm still in some sand pit. But anyway, have a look at this, and hopefully it might give you a bit of an idea of our journey and where we've been going. Hopefully you can all see that. This is what originally what our pages were looking like. It was a bit of a Wild West show, where staff were sort of left up to their own devices as to try and configure how they were going to present homepages to their grade. And it's just an example here, but it's very almost primitive looking. Various links, we do it in one complete year group. So we don't do course by course with maths and different subjects and so forth. Down the bottom here, you'd notice there's home pages. So with those links, you could go into that particular teacher's home class. So what we decided to do was don't do that. We need staff to buy in. We need staff to be part of this in a very collaborative approach, which is what Phil was talking about. And we really need to revamp what it looks like, because it just looks like a complete mess at that time. So moving along to 2020, and we came up with more of a very streamlined approach to the homepage and the way it would look, based on a couple of visits to other schools and so forth. We've got a link there that went to remote learning. I won't go into that. Phil's sort of gone into that sort of structural side of it, but that's where it would take students, and that would take them into a structural COVID world, if you will, for their remote learning and how that was presented. But this was all set up prior to that. So you had basically all these icons here, a little bit of death scroll, as you will, going through. But these were the links that we had. All the colours that you see actually had to be approved by the school. So you'd probably notice the canary yellow or baby poo yellow that's behind me. That was one of the school official colours. And then, believe it or not, but all the colours circling these icons were based on particular school colours that we have. So that was all sort of ticked off, and we came across with these icons. I work closely with the admin PR department as well, and we came up with this sort of set homepage. So every year group basically has that homepage, and then that will take each class off to various courses that they can do within the different KLAs. So for example, I don't know, I'll click on the maths one, I guess. And so there's a couple of little stimulating pictures there, but so you had the maths divvied up into different terms. So that's how we've been doing it. If you go on to term 3, it takes the kids basically into those strands there, and then they can work through all those strands. There's links to athletics, and there's also a link there just for teacher resources, which is it's not published, only teachers can view that too. So that was sort of the setup, I guess, for our homepage and how to take kids into different areas as well. Same with integrated studies, was pretty much the same thing. They're the different areas that Year 5 were looking at. And so that would take them into those areas, and there would be various activities and resources there based on week by week what we're doing. I had to really wean stuff, and I still am weaning stuff off Google Slides. And a lot of staff feel very comfortable going through that and creating their program through slides and running through that in their class. So trying to transfer those resources onto Canvas is one of those big challenges. The stage 3 area and the stage 2 area, I'm fairly happy with the way those teachers have really approached it. A lot of them are still very new to it, and getting them to sort of build on that, like Phil was saying, in a really collaborative approach. And that's where Michelle, Head of Studies, and I have worked together, where we've asked staff on each grade, right, like Phil said, you do maths, you do English, whatever your area is, and then they build those pages. And again, we're using pages quite a lot as well. Some areas we're using modules, but most of it we're using pages. We've got a lot of the links that we've set up here, like one of the Year 6 are using Class Kick at the moment. We've got Seesaw at the moment. So we try to embed those links, of course, there, so it buys them into Canvas in the first place. But getting those younger years on is really my biggest challenge, because they're very hooked on Seesaw, and getting them to discover and be part of the e-portfolio mechanism in Canvas is really what we want to start doing next year as well, and sort of watch that growth go through all the different years. But parent observers, we haven't got parents coming on board as yet. We'd like parents to come on at some point this year, although time is running out, that they can have a look. We don't know how many parents are very keen to sort of jump on board, but that also would sort of spur teachers into sort of building their whole course for their actual year group together. But that was all pretty much it. It wasn't so much a COVID approach, what I was going to share with you today. It was more like a journey with our homepage and where we've come from, to try and, I guess, sell it to staff in a way, so that they can be a part of that as a year group and build that together. But Michelle, if you wanted to sort of jump in there, please feel free.
All I was going to add is that also to, as with most schools now, we also to make sure it looked very professional from a marketing standpoint, and that's where the school colors, all of that sort of thing too came into. And it also reduced the amount of work that the teachers had to do initially, which we thought would be a good buy-in as well. So there was already something for them to start with, and then they build in behind it.
So there's a question, and it looks like Vincent's already answered it, but just to elaborate a little bit, there were people wondering how you add the Seesaw link and Mathletics, and we're assuming it's the redirect tool that you're using for that.
So I'll take you straight.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you clicked on it, because I was going to describe it anyway. So it opens it up in Canvas itself. Oh, Mathletics is having a boo-boo. So Seesaw, what the redirect tool is, it allows you to add external links as a course navigation. Well, actually in a few different places. You can choose course navigation, account navigation, and user account navigation. So when you click on account up in the top left there, it actually shows in your list of items for your own personal account. And that can be quite successful. I've seen some people who have a web-based student information system or student management system where so long as you're logged in, because obviously it's not an LTI tool for Seesaw, so it doesn't authenticate you into Seesaw. You still need to log into Seesaw, but it means you're not leaving Canvas. I've seen it where people have added a timetable link to their web-based timetable for their students as well. So it's a nice convenient way for them to see their timetable. So long as you can log into the system and it allows you to embed the page, some sites or some applications don't allow you to do that, but if it does, and Seesaw is one of those, then you can add it using the redirect tool.
Yeah. Bit of trivia. The redirect tool is the most used LTI available in the Edge App Center. So
this is true. Can confirm. Paul.
All right. Now let me see if I can successfully share my screen. Pick one. That's what I want. All right, hopefully you can see that as it landed on a Year 5 homepage. I've got too many windows open at the moment. I'm just going to see if I can pull this one across. Can you see that OneNote page now? Does that come up? Sorry, just let me try that again.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of the structure of how we're doing things at Barker. We've got a really clear line of how we're using each application, and we're using these three together, which sort of ties into our online learning. So Canvas has very much become our digital textbook now. So we're building a lot of our static content in there. You know, your videos are uploaded there, your PowerPoints that you're teaching from, and that kind of thing that sort of stays there. So we'll build up. We've now gone back to a cohort course. Originally, the biggest sell for us with Canvas was getting a blueprint. You know, we were really, really keen on that start. But as we started to use Canvas, and after 3 years, and we've introduced a couple of other tools, we've now gone back to the cohort-based course and have all of our, I don't like the word static, but that sort of content that is common across all the classes, having that sitting in Canvas. And this is the place that our teachers go and they start from. Let me just get the homepage back up. I think I've gone and jammed it up. That they'll be teaching off an electronic whiteboard in their classroom, and their content is here that, you know, the lesson may start with the students watching a video about what they're doing, and then they'll go off into OneNote, which is their digital workbook. And behind that, we have Teams sitting there, and Teams is sort of our, it's in our admin area and online administration area, but it's also our communication tool that we use. And that really came about because of online learning. We needed something. We didn't want to go down the path of Zoom. We had very strict compliance laws here in Barker, and there was a lot of jumping up and down about, we were asking our teachers to record meetings with students, particularly one-on-one with learning support teachers with one student that we wanted recorded. We didn't know where the Zoom data was going, and there was that bit of a fracas at the start of it all where Zoom were keeping things and their privacy laws weren't so good. So we went down the path of Teams. Anyway, that's how we ended up with that one. Look, the three working together works really well for us. Canvas is fantastic and we love it for getting our content up in there. But, sorry, Paul, it does have a little bit of a hole where, you know, getting that day-to-day class stuff up and interacting with the students is a little bit harder. You know, it takes you longer to structure the page together. So this is where we started using OneNote. The problem I've got, of course, in the junior school is our teachers love OneNote, and it's just so much easier to dump a video in there. And so, you know, there's quite often teacher beatings and, you know, electric shock treatment and all that sort of stuff to get them getting that kind of thing back in Canvas. The one thing it does do when they pop it into OneNote is that really kills the synchronization in OneNote. So they start to get pretty sick of that. So then they'll come back to Canvas for it, which is really good. And look, we're really keen on the collaboration as well, as Phil mentioned. We work hard with our teachers to get them to collaborate on the content. We've always had a structure in place of having what we call an instructional designer in each faculty in the high school, and I've brought that down into the junior school. So I've got an instructional designer who works in one grade, and I work closely with them to build the content, and others will contribute as well as we're building it up. And we're lucky enough to be able to, you know, I've done it twice so far this year of pull a casual in to cover that teacher, and we'll have a whole build day, and we'll generally build a unit ahead, or if not two, and then over this year we'll get the structure well in place, and then next year we'll just roll this course over, and then they'll go in and refine what's up there. And again, that's how that digital textbook side of things is working really well. You can see on this page here on Year 5, I've got this link across the top for each of the class pages. Basically, during our online learning time, again, I said earlier rather flippantly that we had restructured our year, and so we have restructured our terms. But we did have quite a session of online learning there, and I did have an online learning button next to literacy, numeracy, and homework. It was called remote learning, but then I was told that that may make our students feel like they were remote from the school, and I had to change the name of it. So here we called it online learning. That's fine. But basically they would click on that and then you would land on a class page then. And even though I said we have a cohort-based course, each teacher was then putting their timetable in for the day and starting to hyperlink that out. So a little like Phil had in his structure, that you would click on the language reading there and that would take you to the Canvas page that had the content in it. And that worked really well. And our Year 5 teachers loved it, and they decided to keep it past now that we're back to face-to-face. Interesting enough, the Year 6 guys didn't, so I got rid of it for them. They wanted to go back just to that structure. So I kind of, you know, will work that way with the year groups to whichever one that they enjoy. And again, like Phil, are really heavily graphics based. The last thing I want to do is get our junior school kids into the module view. That long scrolling is just quite painful. We really try and avoid it even in our high school courses in Canvas as well. One tool that we have used in Canvas that I'll show you a little bit later from Atomic Jolt is Navigator. We've got that working quite nicely, and I'll show you, if I've got time, show you a quick example of that, how that one's working in a high school course, because that allows you to, when you click on what would have been a module, just to show that module, and it stops all the scrolling. We had lots of hiccups with it at the start, but they've really ironed out the bugs in it now, and it's working quite nicely for us, so I will show you that one. As I might have mentioned, if any of you have heard me rabbit on about this stuff before, we're a PYP school now. So again, very graphically based links into each of the transdisciplinary themes. So you'll click on, which one? I don't think we've just done some work on this one, who we are. You land on your provocation page. So we'll have, you know, this is all PYP speak. If you're not a PYP school, don't worry about it. It's basically the structure of what we're going to teach in that unit. And then for each one, we'll have a unit of inquiry, a line of inquiry, and there'll be up to 3 of those that they'll follow in that theme, and then a summative task at the end. Also, any reading or writing needs to be wrapped around that theme as well in PYP. So these link off to reading and writing pages. This navigation bar is consistent across each unit, so they can easily navigate their way around. We're one-to-one iPads in our junior school, so easy for them to tap on these icons on their Canvas app as well. The other thing that we do here is these red banners, and again, corporate colors, that's the Barker red. They're consistent 3 to 12, and these icons that we've developed are consistent as well. So as students progress through the college, they'll hit a Canvas course for whatever course they go into the high school, and they'll consistently recognize these, which was really important for us. Just open up this template page, and you can see we built these. So you can quite easily, when you build a page, just go and copy the HTML of this and paste it into the page that you're building. So all these icons were quite consistent in there. Let me get that out of the way and go back to here. My most favorite tool in the world is Canva, C-A-N-V-A. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. That's where I make all this stuff. Love it. Really, really simple and easy. You download a PNG of the design, and with the new fantastic rich content editor in Canvas, super easy to drop these images in. Paul, you'll be really pleased as well that we are getting away from tables. Loving the new rich content editor, and building our courses without tables, which is so much nicer. And I have to show you this wonderful tool that we got Daniel Gilgoggi. I said his name right, Paul?
You can murder it as much as you like.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's fine.
Tell him I said it wrong and hacked it up, won't you? This wonderful little tool here, if you can see it, that puts a line in. It's just a little bit of HTML code. If you know it is great, but if not, you can click on that. I'll just put one in here so you can see what I mean. And it's go, Paul.
Oh no, I was just going to say we brought this up in the other user group as well.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually. When Andy was presenting.
Yeah.
So see how if you're using the new rich content editor, which you are, that we now have the menus up the top with the words. So edit, insert, format, all that kind of stuff. If you go to the insert menu.
Oh, nice. Hey, when did that come?
Guess what's there? Look down the bottom.
Oh, the horizontal line.
It's there.
Excuse me, are we getting paid for that? Because it was our idea. It's a 20%.
It actually was in. So previously you had to you do some keyboard gymnastics to bring up that menu. It's been there for a very long time. That text menu.
Oh.
There's actually some extra stuff in there, but now you don't have to do keyboard gymnastics anymore. It's just there permanently, so you have access to all these things in the text menu. So a bonus for everyone else on the call.
If you haven't gone to it yet, I highly recommend that you do. just that adding of documents and images to your page is just so much easier using this. It's really, you build your pages really quite quickly. Just make sure I don't go and ruin that page. Yeah, so we're really happy with that. So that's our structure, lots and lots of graphics. I try and break the pages up as much as I can. So again, there's not lots of scrolling. When you're getting into these lines of inquiry, if they break up into different tasks, again, I'm hyperlinking each of these buttons off to another page. So we get a lot of pages there. As Phil said, though, I do build that up in the module view. We call ours units. We write a bit of JavaScript which changes the names of things and puts them into Barker speak. So in our unit view there, the structure's still there, which helps that page navigation down the bottom. So you still get your previous and next buttons. So the module view is sitting in the back end, but we don't really advise teachers or students to go there. And I think, again, as Phil said as well, it allows you to control the publishing of pages, which is really, really nice. And again, that picture structure, this is a year 7 class, again, and using lots of images and lots of graphics. And again, you can make your pages look superb. That's something one of my colleagues, Andy, built for year 7 music. So much nicer, and it really just makes it wonderful being able to click through the different pages much, I think, in a nicer way than using the unit view. Just want to share another couple of things just quickly with you. During lockdown, we built these Connect courses. We have a High School Connect course and a Junior School Connect hub. And it's in here that we put a lot of our common content during lockdown. Our wellbeing went in there. Our community page, we were live streaming assemblies, still using Microsoft Streams and embedding the content in here. And then we found after lockdown that we really wanted to keep the structure here for a lot of this sort of more general stuff that we're using across both campuses. Again, really, really nice. We put lots of competitions in here. Our chaplains record videos because we still can't have large groups coming meet for our chaplain time. So they record their videos and put them up there. ICT help, how to do things and all that sort of stuff sits in here. And it's just something we keep building along the way, which has been a really nice thing that came out of it, which we were quite happy with. The other one, just again, quickly, something that we are doing, again, I think, I'm not sure if this is happening in Victoria, but in New South Wales now, we have to have our teacher accreditation, where we need to get 100 hours of recognised professional development over 4 years. At Barker, we're lucky enough to be an accredited school. So we can create our own courses and load them up to ETAMS, which is the NESA course controller, and allocate hours out to them. So we've now built a course and student that our teachers can jump in and enroll in any of these training courses and get hours. The Teaching with Canvas one is a 9-hour course, for example. I know I was close and getting towards the end of the 4 years, and I'm still a few hours short, so I can jump in here and do these courses and pick up on my hours. And again, we're really pushing the teachers to go in as students. So again, they get the experience that they're giving their students, and it's just a wonderful way of doing things. Just quickly on Navigator as well. This is it here. Navigator is an LTI that comes in on your course menu. So if I click on one of these, for example, like Barker Procedures, it takes you to the module view, but you only see that one module. So it's really quite nice. So you're not getting that whole big long scroll list. Not overly expensive. I think it costs, it's about $1,000 US a year or something we pay for it, something like that. Not 100% sure, but we really like it. The other great thing about it as well is if you search, I'll just jump into this window. The search on it is absolutely fantastic. So if I wanted to find some information on Teams, really good. Picks up just about everywhere that Teams is mentioned, I believe, but don't quote me, that it'll pick up contents of PDFs too. I'm not 100% sure on that. But really nice, because our teachers not only can enroll in this for hours, they can actually go in and use this as a reference course. So rather than bugging us all the time, we'll just say, go to that and do a quick search, and you can probably find a video or some training material on there as well. Oof, there you go. So again, really heavily graphics based. lots of navigation in the course, and getting away from that scrolling is something that is really, really important to us.
Thanks heaps, Paul.
Pleasure.
Lots of really useful stuff in there. Now I'll just head back to my screen, and we're on to assessment. We have a couple of fantastic people sharing about assessment. We have Bobby Peterson. Do you pronounce it Peterson or Pedersen, Bobby?
Today I'll be Pedersen.
Pedersen, okay. Make sure I pronounce that correctly. So Bobby Pedersen and Roshanda Silva. So Bobby is from Department of Education Tasmania, which Tassie has Canvas across the state for the department, which is awesome. And Roshan is from MLC Sydney. And I'll stop sharing. So whoever jumps in first to share their screen gets to go first.
I've just got some talking points. If we could just stare at you, Paul. Or your slide. I'll just do, I'll be really, really quick. Okay, cool. So as you mentioned, we're just using Canvas statewide. So we haven't got that consistency amongst schools, which I'm awfully jealous of those guys who have presented already. However, you know, it's still great that we've got that consistency of Canvas use across schools. However, K-6, it's still a challenge. So there's still some reluctance and difficulty for some to see how they can use it. There's a lot of seesaw love out there, and people are finding it hard to transfer that into Canvas. But those of them who have, they've found that the little guys can use it if they've got familiarity with how to log in to get started and their navigation. So using it for assessment can be done even with those little wee people if they're used to navigating and logging in. Single point rubrics has become a bit of a hit throughout the state as far as assessment goes. So there's that huge potential there for using Canvas. So it's nice to see the achievement standards getting a bit of a look in with the way that we've set it up with the outcomes just as a single point. And the rich media, you know, the recording media tool within the rich content editor is just a game changer, especially with those little guys. When a teacher can assess using the discussions tool especially, or any old assignment, anywhere where the rich content editor is, getting the kids just to record themselves is just magic. And it's great to share with parents too, you know, parent-teacher interviews. Assigning discussions or assignments to small groups or individuals is fab, especially with those discussions. So it can be an ongoing portfolio. For example, some teachers are using it to capture kids' reading, just an individual just to see their progress during the year. Groups is a little bit fiddly, I think more for the teachers to use, but a few K-6 teachers have given that a go. And those embeddable tools like Padlet and Answer Garden are just great for capturing evidence of learning and for kids to share. So I guess, you know, as an assessment tool, it's really handy as well. We've just started a trial for parents as observers, so hopefully now Canvas will be used more as an assessment device. And my mantra that I try to tell teachers is done is better than perfect. So I love that example that someone showed us before of what Canvas used to look like. And in a way, you know, that's great if they're using it. So done is better than perfect. And I love that idea too of collaboration. So keep going, guys. The end.
Thanks, Bobby. There's just a quick question from Ian saying, how do you navigate the login for the little people?
Oh, good question. So that's a whole lot of different ways in different schools. So some have got the teacher aides to help, teacher assistants to help the little guys log in the mornings. So it's just practice, really. Some have, you know, done a whole lot of keyboarding practice as well. Some have set up QR codes. I'm not too sure how successful they've been. But one-to-one devices is also a game changer, but it's not the end of the world if you're sharing devices.
Okay, Rashan.
Hi everyone, how are you? I'm just going to try and share my screen, hopefully. It'll come through. Sorry, having technical issues. Bear with me. Just while I'm doing this, so my Canvas journey is that I've been a Canvas user for 9 years now. I've been part of the second school in Sydney to use Canvas at the time. And obviously Paul is my awesome CSM. So I'm struggling here to get my screen up. Just bear with me. Zoom, yes. Sorry, just Paul, I'm going to share something to you, and maybe you can throw it up, if that's okay.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Do you want to get someone else to jump on, and then I'll come back to assessments, if that's all right?
Yeah, no problem at all. All right, so let's move on to, I'll share my screen again. We'll go to parent interaction. And Craig, we have Craig from Haileybury College on the line. Craig, did you want to jump on and have a chat about that?
Sure thing. Again, not similar to Bobby, I don't have any slides to share. I suppose for us, all our parents are in Canvas as observers. That's sort of legacy from when we were all using Blackboard. So they were all enrolled then, so we just brought them over. And what that has allowed us to do, it's meant that we can use Canvas, especially down at the real low end, so your prep or kinder students, as more of that community building tool. Announcements and everything like that are aimed at the parents because, they're 5, their reading skills aren't that fantastic. So especially going into COVID, meant that all the comms would go out through Canvas to our parents. One thing we did discover fairly early on is you've got to get their notification settings right, or else they either don't get it or they want to kill you because they get 20 million emails a day. And then they just get email fatigue and don't actually read the emails or read the notifications that you're sending out. So we ended up with what we think was a pretty good mix. But, we still spend a lot of time showing parents how to go back and adjust those settings as well. What we've found is through inbox and those announcements, we don't generally email our parents very much anymore. It is a lot more of that group communications. We don't like our teachers having those big email lists they have to set up at the start of every year. They just do it through Canvas now. Sorry, just going back to what else I was going to cover. Basically, so that's meant that in terms of assessment and things like that our parents can just go back in and look at assessment results. And I primarily work in the Prep to 4 space, which is where we're sort of heading down that assessment path now. Sort of in our 5s and 6s, that's well and truly entrenched. And so our parents have near instant feedback through all the assessment tools that we use through there. And that's now from our middle and senior school, that is the only assessment or the only reporting that we do is through that, apart from an end of year kind of summative thing. So we use Canvas for all of that, and we're heading down towards doing that in our junior school as well. But yeah, having them in as observers is the big one. What we've really found is in our early learning centre, they get a lot of online feedback from the teachers using, there's a million different platforms that kinders use. But they had all this feedback, regular updates, photos, here's your kid painting something and all this stuff. And then they get to prep and it was very minimal. So with our we refocused our use of Canvas this year before COVID. And we've just really pushing that whole using the tool as that way to build community, as a meaningful way to try and get interaction and train the parents up in actually using the platform so that as they move through the school, when they do eventually get up to middle school, that there is this really ingrained habit of using it, so that they do know to go there to get assessment results and all the other information that comes out through there. So that's, I suppose, in terms of community, what we tend to do. It's still evolving, obviously. COVID supercharged it for us, I'll be honest. But we're trying to just take that with us when we eventually get out of lockdown. We're in Melbourne, so we're still locked up nice and tight. So that's where we're at the moment. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. We had you down to share a little bit about what you're doing as far as parent interaction as well. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, now that I've managed to unmute. In a similar vein to what Craig was saying, we've had our parents in as observers from day one. We were quite keen to do that, but that observer role we did edit considerably. They don't have access to content pages, anything like that. They can see assessment tasks that are coming up. They can see mark book or feedback, and that's about it, really. We're re-looking at that now, particularly in the junior school, that we may possibly give them access to see content in courses as well, just to help, assist their kids' learning, I think is the main reason why we wanted to do that. In thinking about that, we'll probably go down that path, but one of the things I think along the lines of what Bobby's saying, that we're heading down the path of continuous reporting, which of course we have to barkerise and change the name and call it progressive reporting. So getting all our reporting online in Canvas. And we want the parents to be able to get in and access that. So I know, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Learning Mastery, but I'll just show you quickly anyway. I've got a dummy course here that's got no student data in it and not a lot of information, but just that ability in Learning Mastery to be able to put a picture in, like what you can see in the centre there, that the parents can get in and see how their kids are going at whatever. Just the example I was using there, and along the lines of that progressive reporting, is that we do snapshots. We would do an approach to learning, which has always been part of our general printed report, just how they're going, if they're doing the homework and that sort of thing. And we're making that a task within Canvas and a snapshot that once, twice a term. And then you get this really nice picture in here of how they're going. And then we'll use the same sort of thing for other assessment that we're doing in PYP, looking at the concepts and the skills of PYP, plus the normal necessary outcomes that we've got to meet. So we want to have parents up and running in Canvas and getting used to going there and seeing that feedback. Again, using rubrics in the tasks and making sure that our teachers are giving good feedback around a task. And then, the parents are in there seeing formative assessment, the summative assessment, if we keep going with that, and they're getting this regular picture all the time. And then the beauty of having that in your gradebook in Canvas and then using an API, we will grab that data and take it into our student management system, which will automatically create a transcript of a A to E report, which is a necessary requirement that then will get emailed out. But taking all that stress of reporting out, I know I was meant to talk about parent communication, and now I've gone on to reporting, but, just to get that idea that that's how we're going to use it to communicate to our parents. And a lot of you have talked about prep students. We currently use Seesaw, and we have our parents in there commenting, all that sort of thing. And pretty soon I get to tell the prep teachers they now have to learn Canvas as well, because we're going to get them to do their assessment in Canvas. And even if the students don't see it, I'd certainly put the redirect tool in there and get access straight back into Seesaw to keep it easy for them. But all our teachers are going to be assessing in Canvas, and their parents are going to be in there being able to get those, to get that rich ongoing feedback, which I think is so important these days. So yeah, that's the main thing at the moment. We don't do we don't do a great deal of communication with parents using Canvas. We were certainly using the announcements during lockdown, and I think, as you've all said, we got abused because we didn't talk about notification preferences. Some people loved it. Others were out to kill us because they were getting pop-ups all the time, and their kids were getting pop-ups all the time. And how are they meant to learn when this stuff's constantly disrupting them? And it's like, go in and turn it off. But there you go. So there'll be a fair bit of parent training that'll go on, once we get this sort of thing up and running. And gee, it'd be nice, we might even put some Canvas courses up there for parents to go in there and learn how to do it. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think that's a really important point on helping parents understand what notifications in Canvas are, and that it's a good idea for them to change them when they start using it. Because by default, I'm not everything's turned on, but yeah, there are a few things that come through if you're very active in your courses in Canvas, which is likely to be the case if you're locked down and doing everything online. So, all right, Rashan, I did get your email, and I'm ready to go if you're ready.
I think I may be able to do it. Let me just check.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sorry, everyone.
Perfect.
Okay, let me start this again. So obviously a Canvas user for over 9 years. This is my second school I'm implementing Canvas in, and I was brought in specifically to do this role. We were 6 months into obviously an implementation when COVID hit, which was a bit of an issue at the time. But we created in the junior school specifically 120 courses in 14 days, and we used templates. So I use something called City Labs. You may or may not have heard about it. It basically allows me to design courses very quickly, and we template everything. So I've been using Blueprint courses even before they were designed. We used to call them master courses, and Paul can tell you all about that another time. And we import everything into our classroom. So I'll just quickly go through this presentation. So I'll talk about the naming conventions. Everything in our school from K through to 12 is templated, and there's a reason for it. And we don't use Canvas in K to 3, and that's an argument that I have been having for a long time. But I'm not going to do it at the moment because we're just trying to get it up and running in the senior school and the junior school as well. We'll talk about assessment structure and marking feedback as well. So the naming conventions, everything that goes out through Canvas has a very specific naming convention in terms of, for example, there's a maths course for the junior school where they've got their assessment tasks, they've got homework tasks and ongoing revision. And that happens in English, maths, if they've got a science course, PDHP, art, they have very specific naming conventions, and they're carried from year 3 all the way through to year 12. And the reason for that is because we want that continuum of learning. With our assessment structure, again, everything is templated. So this is a year 3 template, sorry, a year 3 to 6 template that we use. This is a 7 to 10 template that we use, and you can see it's very similar with a few additions. The senior kids obviously have the ability to download a Word version of that as well. And this is the HSC and IB templates as well that we use in assessments. So we are very big on embedding all our content into our assessments. It's a one-stop shop. I don't like anything to be outside of Canvas. So that includes, for example, these are videos from a previous year that the students have made. We've uploaded them into Stream, and we provide that as an example. We've also got exit tickets in the junior school. So if they're doing an informal task, there's an exit ticket always associated. And also, for example, in the maths area, there's a maths help desk run by the students. So this area is obviously the teacher's view in, and the students run it. Obviously, the teacher provides a little bit of extra help as well. In terms of our assessment outline, we like to chunk as much of the work as we possibly can because it's manageable. As you can see, this is a task where the students are submitting content over a long period of time. The reason we do this is because it breaks up the assessment task. So rather than having that one big hit at the end, their work is chunks. So they get a bit of feedback, they go back, they reassess, they resubmit their work, and that work progresses through. We also like to give them tech skills at each opportunity. So the final tech skill, for example, if it's an online report or an online website they're building, they learn those tech skills as they go along. It's chunked, and then it's finally submitted at the end. I am developing a couple of cross-curriculum units which look at integrating science, maths, English, PDHP, art, and we have something called a CLP, which is a collaborative learning project. So currently in stage 5, we've got this huge cross-curriculum thing happening where each unit of work in each subject actually links to a final proposal that they submit. So that has been a lot of work. I'd love to show you that. Unfortunately, I can't because my curriculum coordinator wouldn't let me, but I'm happy to, if you visit the school, just walk you through it and how we've build that out. In terms of marking and feedback, we're very clear across the whole school about how feedback is given. So we use colors, and I think Barker, you guys do this as well. So green is an area of strength. Orange is something that requires development, and sorry, I put purple here, but they've used red, which I need to talk to the teacher about, where we basically, that's something that the students need to look at and change and attend to. In terms of feedback comments, you can see clearly here there's a structure once again, so areas of success, areas of improvement, and recommendations for the student, and this again goes through from 3 all the way through to 12, and that way the students are basically, we teach them logically how they will progress through every single course in the school. So that was something that we said from the very start, that we want this logical progression where students aren't thinking about what they're doing, they actually go in, they know where to find their content, and their feedback is very clear and concise. I will give a quick shout out to discussion power-ups if you haven't seen them in terms of an assessment. Dr. Travis Thurston from the University of Utah, or Utah State University, he's developed this awesome thing, and if you haven't seen it yet, just Google it, Travis Thurston discussion power-ups, and it looks at Bloom's taxonomy and higher order thinking in terms of using discussion as an assessment tool as well. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Phil is asking about the exit tickets. Can you share a little bit about those?
Yeah, so in terms of the exit tickets, they sit on a normal lesson. So every time a student does a lesson, there's an exit ticket at the end. And the exit ticket is basically a poll. So they complete a poll. I think in some courses, it's just a picture, different pictures of are they happy or are they sad? And they complete that and it goes out. So it gives the teacher a quick snapshot of where the students are at. In the senior school, it's quite structured. So it talks about the learning intention for the day, and it says, you know, I have achieved this learning intention. I know what I'm doing. My teacher needs to give me a bit of extra help. I have no idea what's happening. They'll take that poll, it submits it to the teacher at the end. Next lesson, the teacher can then grab the student and make sure that they've actually understood what was happening in class, so they need a bit of extra revision, etc., etc.
Yeah, Craig's asking what tool you use for that. I mean, it sounds awesome as far as student self-reflection and basically feeding that back to the teacher, because quite often, yeah, unless you force it, some students won't feed that back.
Yeah, look, we are using something called Evaluation Kit, which is from the US. So that was a tool that I've used at a previous employer, and we've implemented that directly into our Canvas courses. So at the end of every term and at the end of every semester, we poll our students in terms of how did they go in their subject, how was their teacher, what did their teacher do? We get a bit of feedback about each staff member. That's then evaluated across cohorts, across curriculum, across a teacher. So basically the curriculum coordinator can go in and have a look at a specific teacher and see their polling from their students and how they're progressing and what they're doing and the feedback that students have given about a teacher and about a topic and about a subject, etc. So really awesome tool. You can get a term's worth of free evaluation kit if you just sign up, and you don't have to sign up at the end. They'll run a trial for you. Highly effective tool and not very expensive as well.
Awesome.
No problem.
Now, I'm just looking at the time. We've got a couple of, dare I say, housekeeping things for the user group that I mentioned earlier in our meeting. Let me just go back and we'll head back in here. I'm actually going to launch a poll, and can everyone see the poll in Zoom now? We'd just love to get your feedback as to how often you think you'd like to have these user groups from a K-6 perspective.
I think we've got a clear winner.
I think we do. Just let a few more vote, but I think we do have a winner. you haven't voted, feel free to cast your vote, share your voice.
It's probably just us.
Okay. All right. Oh, no, it doesn't include hosts.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, but I think we have a clear winner. So 4 times per year, by far, it seems to be the winner, which was actually the exact same result when we ran the K-12 user group. So once a term, basically. What we might do is try and do something in the middle of the term, because I know, end of term 2 is usually pretty busy with reporting and stuff like that. End of term 4 gets a bit busy again with reporting and stuff like that. So how's everyone feel, just in the chat, for us to do another user group, say late October, early November, as far as this year is concerned? All right. Is early November too late? Sounds good.
Yep. Cool.
Okay. All right, so let's move on. We'll circle back to Q&A, and if there's anything else that people want to share as well. As far as the next session is concerned, I'm just going to go into edit mode for this. Do you have, just put it in the chat, some topics that you would like for people to share about for the next user group? And I'll just start adding them in here. I won't spend too long on this, but if you can chuck that in, we'll enter a few in here, and we'll have the transcript for this, for the chat, which is why I'm asking you to put it in there. So if I don't get them all up on the screen now, at least we do capture that in the chat, and we'll put that to a vote. For anyone who received the newsletter that we sent out to sign up for this, we also had reference to a form for filling in for the K-12 group, and there were topics that you were voting on that one as well. So feel free to jump into that one if you'd like to be involved in the broader K-12 group.
So we've got a couple here already.
Yeah.
Well, I'd really like to see what people are actually putting on a page, because we've had a big discussion at our school about the actual learning that takes place. Because I said to staff, there's no point you copying and pasting stuff from a website and putting it on there and saying, I built a page and I put a couple of activities on there, because that's not what we really want Canvas to be used for. So the actual learning and how schools are using Canvas to help their students learn, as opposed to just dumping content in there and presenting it to them.
So, Bobby, do you mean student engagement?
No, teacher.
Teacher, okay.
And I think someone else mentioned it this afternoon, but I totally agree with Roshan. Sort of making that learning deeper is key. But it seems to be a development too, doesn't it? That as people get used to using Canvas, then they start to go a bit deeper.
Well, I think the problem for teachers is they like to feel as if they've dumped a lot of information on there, and they feel really fantastic because their page has a lot of stuff on there. And when I read it and I say to them, well, do you honestly think a child is going to read, over 300 words on a page? It's never going to happen. So
yeah, just so what? Yeah.
I'm not sure who asked this. Was it Dan or Bill? I know it's Dan and Bill from Horizon. But yes, it is recorded, and Rio just literally answered as I'm speaking. It is recorded. We'll put this up. We actually have for those who don't know, hopefully you do know, but for those who don't, we have a brand new community platform. So we had to move away from Jive, which was the old platform, because it was no longer supported by the vendor. And we've moved to a new one called Chorus. And we have a brand new APAC community site, so Asia Pacific community site. We will be putting all of this up on that site. We'll be putting a post there where we have the recording and the slides and everything, so that people have access to it afterwards. The K-12 one is up there already, if you want to check that out. Ria, do you want to just put the link to
Yeah,
that
good thinking.
that page in
Yeah.
the chat?
Yeah.
All right. Is there? And I think we've basically captured everything.
Oh, it's a good chat. Well done, guys.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So let me just go back into presentation mode. Is there anything else that anyone wants to share, or Q&A for people who've shared, or anything like that? No, looks like we're probably done. We're finishing a little bit early then. All right. I think it is. Yeah, is that?
Yeah,
time,
I've just
isn't it?
posted the link to the APAC hub area. So that's where we'll be posting all of the links, as well as anything that we recorded today will also be up there as well. So you can find the K-12 user group, and yeah, any webinars that we do as well. So make sure you bookmark that, because that's where we'll be populating all our content.
Great. Thank you for that.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you especially to those who've shared today. If there is anything that you want to share at these user groups, it's not exclusively for the people who've put their hands up beforehand. If there's something that you think would be useful, you can just jump in at this time towards the end. Hopefully, we have a little bit of time like this normally. But yeah, thanks everyone. I think it's been really, really great, all the things that's been shared today. I've learned a thing or two, and hopefully you have too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for organising, guys.
See you all.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
Ka kite, Paul.
Ka kite.
Kia ora, Kaz.
Kia ora.
Oh, Paul, you didn't have